Moin, ihr wunderbare Menschen des Interwebs. Ich begrüße euch ganz herzlich zurück zu meinem Let's Play von The Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. Wir starten heute mit The Great Ace Attorney 2 Resolve. Ein neues Spiel. Und los geht's.
こうして目の覚めるような澄み渡った青空の下に立つと、ロンドンでのあの日々がまるで嘘のようでございます。懐かしい異国の大帝都。あの方はそれは立派な弁護士になられました。今もきっと彼女の法廷で勇敢に戦っていると存じます。ご挨拶が遅くなって本当に申し訳ございません。帰国より慌ただしい日が続いたものでございますから。それに一体誰が想像したでしょうか。この国に戻ってからたった2ヶ月。今日はご報告に参りました。明日、私は大審院の法廷に立ちます。一生にただ一度、弁護士として。どうかこの須里に力を与えてくださいませ。一馬様。
Episode 1, The Adventure of the Blossoming Attorney. Okay, und ich habe hier auch schon einige bekannte Gesichter wieder gesehen. Und zwar die Dame, die ich glaube ermordet wurde, es sah zumindest so aus, war Cecile. Das war die Dame vom ersten Fall, also von unserem Trial-Fall, von unserem Tutorial-Fall. Und hier die Person, die jetzt gerade geredet hat, das war logischerweise Susato. Und ich weiß nicht, ob ihr euch da noch dran erinnern könnt, aber als wir angefangen haben, das Spiel zu spielen, hatte ich ja in den Einstellungen geguckt unter Extras. Und da konnte man die Kostüme von den Charakteren ändern. Und diese Kostüme tragen sie aber erst im zweiten Game, stand damals da. Und deswegen hat jetzt Susato so ausgesehen, weil ich hier nämlich das optionale Kostüm gegeben habe. Und das sind Kostüme, die Iris für sie, für die alle gemacht hat. Deswegen sehen wir hier jetzt ein wenig anders aus. Gut, ich würde sagen, legen wir mal los. Here I am again, after 9 months, the Supreme Court of Judicature of Japan. I feel so nervous, but I must steel my nerves and find a way to compose myself. Oh, good you're here. It doesn't do for a lawyer to be late. Oh, yes, good morning, sir. I hardly recognize you. You cut a fine figure, counsel. But you look as white as a sheet, and those white eyes aren't doing you any favors either. Oh dear. The truth is, I'm so incredibly nervous. I feel utterly nauseated. I almost wish that I've never been born. Goodness, not the sort of thing a father hopes to hear from his daughter, I must say. Yushin Mikotoba, professor of medicine at the Imperial Yumi University, a man who earlier in his life traveled to Great Britain to study the latest advances in forensic medical science. And of course, my brilliant father. Excuse me? Would I be correct in thinking that you're to be my lawyer in court today? Yes, that's right, miss. Well, I want to thank you for agreeing to represent me. I swear on my life, it's a complete fabrication, this whole thing. Ray Membami, born the same year as I, and my greatest friend. So unusual for a woman in our time, she works at the university research laboratory helping my father. And sadly, she's the defendant in today's trial, accused of committing a truly awful murder. Are you feeling alright? Since we started talking, you seem, well, to have become a little flushed. Oh my, it's just that you look so gallant and dashing. Sorry? And when I fall under your intense gaze, it makes me feel rather bashful. Goodness, I don't think she knows. She hasn't realized who I am. It would seem our little plan for this trial is going to work. Oh, what do you mean, Professor Mikotoba? If even your best friend can't see through the disguise, I think we can relax. Disguise? Yes, I've never tried dressing this way before, of course, so I wasn't sure how convincing it would be. But this does make me feel a little relieved, as you say, Father. Father? Is it you, Susato? I'm so sorry I didn't say something sooner, Ray. It's just that... No, what are you doing? What's going on? What? That Versi uniform, that Versi cap, the Versi cape, that Versity badge. Look at you, you look for all the words just like a student of the Imperial Human University, a male student. I'm so glad you think so. It means all my preparations have been worthwhile. I woke at 4 this morning to make a start. But I don't understand. Why are you dressed like that? Well, you see... It was the only way. The only way she would be permitted into the Supreme Court to take on your defense in this trial. My defense? Never before in my life have I felt so frustrated at having been born into this body. Courts in Japan are barred to women. We are not even allowed to set foot inside the courtroom, despite the fact that the laws of the land apply to all people, male and female alike. But women are forbidden. Just for today, I will be leaving my true self at the courtroom door, so that I can act as your lawyer. Oh, Susato, you got such a length. You would go such a length for me? Of course, you're my greatest friend. I just worry that I shan't be the lawyer you deserve. Oh no, I have complete faith in you. It's so strange, though. I mean, you're such an accomplished judicial assistant already, and yet just because you're a woman? What a wretched reason. I mean, why shouldn't you be allowed in court? You're so gallant and dashing. Ray, please don't look at me like that, with those flushed cheeks and dotting eyes. Oh, I'm sorry, it's just... You really do look so dashing. Yes, you mentioned that once or twice. You should be pleased. It means you look convincing as a man. I am pleased, I think. It certainly helped to bolster my confidence today. Ray, you're managing to put on a brave face in all this, but I can see through it. I've noticed how your shoulders are slumped and how you're trembling ever so slightly. Susato, you do believe me, don't you? I didn't do it. I couldn't have. I mean, murder, of course. You have nothing to worry about. Your conscience is perfectly clean. Conscience, glaube ich. Isn't it right? Yes, it is. Perfectly clean. I have absolutely no doubt in my mind about your innocence, which is why I will stand by you until the bitter end in this trial. Whatever happens, I will always be on your side. Because that's what it means to be a defense lawyer. That means so much to me, Susato. Defendant, counsel. Court is about to begin. Proceed to the courtroom at once. You should go in at once, Ray. If you're late, the judge won't hesitate to pronounce you guilty. Stand aside! I don't think I've ever seen her run so fast. Well, Susato, you've certainly surprised your father, going to such lengths to be admitted into the courtroom and with no prior experience of being a lawyer. There's simply no other way, that's all there is to it. But father, you haven't told her, have you? I mean, I'm right in assuming that Ray doesn't know how it came to this? Yes, quite right. I've kept that information from her. It would only worry her if she found out that no other lawyer would agree to take a case. I didn't want to burden her with that. And is it true? The reason why every other lawyer is refusing to take the case? Is it really because of who the victim was? We should be making move now too. As you know, law isn't my field, but I will do what I can to support my student. Thank you, father. I'm Susato Mikotoba, a judicial assistant. 8 months ago, I accompanied a student of law on a study trip to Great Britain. But 2 months ago, due to unforeseen circumstances, I found myself back in Japan. How many times have I wished that he were here, I wonder. Still, I have no choice now but to steel myself for the trial ahead. Wish me luck, Naruhodo-san. This court is now in session to hear the trial of Ray Membami. The prosecution is fully ready to proceed, Your Excellency. Defense counsel, are you ready? Yes, Your Excellency, we are ready. Ready? Ah yes, counsel. According to your registration details, your name is, Ryotaro Naruhodo, is that correct? Sorry? Oh yes, I had to come up with a suitable male name for you for this little venture. So I'm afraid to say I simply put down the first name that sprung to mind. Well, counsel. Yes, that's right. That's me. Yes, I am Ryotaro, he who has vowed to uphold the pride of the great Naruhodo clan. It seems Ryotaro may need to consider how better to uphold his manly act first and not overdo it. And those wild wide eyes aren't doing you any favors either. Just relax and listen. Naruhodo? A fresh face in this courtroom, if I'm not mistaken. But the name Naruhodo, would it perchance be... You may be thinking of Ryonosuke Naruhodo, currently in Britain as part of a study program. This is, his cousin. That's right, Ryotaro here has been studying in the provinces, but was called to the capital for this trial. I assure you, in matters of law, his knowledge rivals that of any of Tokyo's preeminent lawyers. Any of them. What a pitiful situation. Having been rejected by every lawyer in the capital, the accused has had to call in a country boy. How dare you! Susato's every bit as gallant and dashing as any of your Tokyo attorneys. I won't have you making fun of her. Her? Oh, please be careful, Ray. What an unrefined tomboy we have here. But I wonder, is your gallant and dashing lawyer up to the challenge of defending you? His wide, skittish eyes very much suggest that he is not. I'm so nervous. Now that I'm standing in his shoes, I'm starting to understand what Naruhodo-san goes through. Like it or not, eyes are want to flit. Ja, also Susato würde jetzt hier anders aussehen. Dadurch, dass ich damals dieses Kostüm ausgewählt habe, hat sie das jetzt gleich von Anfang an. Eigentlich hätte sie jetzt so eine kleine Kappe auf, wie man, und eine Uniform, so wie Naruhodo sie getragen hat. Und dann noch eben so ein Cape noch mit. Das wäre eigentlich alles so gewesen, um eben ihr Aussehen auch noch ein bisschen mehr zu verbergen, dass sie eben dann noch eher als Mann durchgeht. Das ist jetzt eben hier nicht der Fall mit dem Kostüm, aber ich denke mal, das ist jetzt ertragbar. Ich wusste leider nicht, dass wir jetzt im ersten Fall Susato spielen und nicht Naruhodo. Hätte ich das gewusst, hätte ich das vielleicht nicht, hätte ich das nicht gemacht. The case to be heard in this day is a matter of great significance to our national interests. In fact, it would be reasonable to assume that the outcome of this trial may well affect the very future of our empire. Und falls ihr euch wundert, warum ich das weiß, es liegt daran, dass ich mir einige Artworks angeguckt habe von Great Ace Attorney, weil ich bin immer ein sehr, sehr großer Fan von Games oder auch Animationsserien, die ich mag, mir Artbooks zu holen oder anzugucken, weil ich das immer super interessant finde, wie die Charaktere dann tatsächlich erschaffen werden und die Concept Arts, also was war eigentlich mal geplant oder was waren so die Anfangsideen für bestimmte Charaktere. Das finde ich immer ganz interessant, weil ich selber auch sehr, sehr viel gezeichnet hatte in meiner Vergangenheit und sehr viel damit zu tun hatte. Und deswegen finde ich das immer sehr, sehr interessant, mir auch mit anzugucken. Just like the trial 9 months ago, and yet for proceedings of such importance we have this, unknown jokel by the dock, dear me. Perhaps this would be an appropriate moment for me to assess the defense, to determine whether you are sufficiently competent to practice in this courtroom. 9 months ago, when a certain other Naruhodo stood where you're standing now. This same judge tested him as well. And even though he was just a student at the time, not even a law, he passed the test with flying colors. For a trained and experienced judicial assistant like you, this will be easy. So, counsel, do you consent to answering some simple questions? Alright, it's time to prove myself. Yes, Your Excellency, but please do make them simple. Very well, to start with, you will state the name of the victim. Phew, that is simple. I couldn't forget that if I tried. What's the matter? Now that I'm standing in his shoes, I'm starting to understand something else Naruhodo-san goes through. Like it or not, minds are want to blank. It's not surprising, really. It's your first time in this position, and in that guise. Even a bright spark like you is bound to flicker and falter a little under the circumstances. Oh dear, this is a dismal failure. Don't fret. You need only use the knowledge you have gained as a judicial assistant to overcome the problem. Of course, the court record. Yes, the answer will be amongst all the key information about the case in the court record. That's right, just use E to open the court record. Then you need to flip to the people section with E. And don't take too long over it. His Excellency is watching you closely. Alright, check the court record with E. That's where the information I need will be. So, people. Cecile Brett, the victim of the case, who was a former British exchange student. 9 months ago, she was found guilty of the murder of visiting Professor Dr. John Wilson. Ich bin auch noch gespannt, wie das alles dann miteinander zusammenhängt, weil wir hatten ja diese Liste mit den 4 Namen auch noch bekommen gehabt. Und da stand eben Dr. Wilson auch mit drauf und Kazuma ebenfalls. I'm waiting, counsel. What is the name of the victim in this case? Cecile Brett. The name of the victim who lost her life in this case is Miss Cecile Brett. Cecile Brett. A name that will never be forgotten in the courtrooms of our country, I'm sure. Correct. And being a member of our empire's judiciary, you will be well aware of the significance of that name. So, let me pose another simple question. As you know, Miss Brett was a visiting student from the Empire of Great Britain. Why then is her name indelibly associated with our own empire's judicial history? Obviously, you won't have forgotten a case from 9 months ago, but if it's proving hard to recall the finer points, everything you need is included in the court record. Obviously, I still remember. That was the start of everything. Cecile Brett, behind the woman's student persona, was the face of a victim, Queen Victoria, a killer. Nine months ago, a visiting professor of medicine at the Imperial Yumi University was killed, and the culprit was Cecile Brett. Yes, she was a killer. At the time, our country had just signed a new treaty with the Empire of Great Britain, and it was in the midst of this delicate diplomatic situation that the incident occurred. An Englishman, Dr. John H. Wilson, was shot dead. I believe he was an associate of yours, Professor Mikotoba? Yes, I was indebted to the man. He had been my mentor when I went to London to study forensic medicine. Indeed, it was I who invited him here to Japan as a visiting professor at the university. Naturally, the murder of an Englishman on our soil was a matter the government wished to resolve rapidly. Indeed it was, which is why a secret trial was conducted here at the Supreme Court. A student of the Imperial Yumi University was arrested on suspicion of murder. A second-year English language student by the name of Ryunosuke Naruhodo. With the help of his best friend, a student lawyer, the accused conducted his own defense and exposed the despicable crime committed by Miss Cecile Brett. Miss Brett eventually admitted to her crime. However, when questioned about the motive that drove her to take Dr. Wilson's life, she gave no satisfactory answer before the trial reached its conclusion. Immediately after the trial, the British government brought its consular jurisdiction into play. We were unable to sentence Miss Brett according to our empire's laws. It was decided that she would be removed to Shanghai, China instead. Why Shanghai? There's a British consular court there. Correct, I oversaw the negotiations personally. The date of her transfer to Shanghai was finally settled upon only last week. All that remained of our empire's obligations was to see the woman safely on board a steamship. And yet, the very day before her departure, the English woman was killed. Only the day before? That will do. I'm satisfied that the counsel for the defense is sufficiently capable of representing the defendant. Thank you, Your Excellency. Over the first hurdle. Now, a summary of the incident, if you please, Prosecutor... Oh ja. Da war ja was mit seinem Namen. As you wish, Your Excellency. The repugnant crime took place on the 11th August in broad daylight. On the outskirts of the imperial capital under a bright blue sky at a secluded bathing spot by the sea. The incident occurred inside a small beach hut erected for bathers to rest or change their clothes. The cause of death was a single stab wound to the posterior abdomen that pierced the victim's lungs, an injury which proved fatal. There were two persons along together in the beach hut at the time of the victim's death, Miss Brett in her bathing attire, and the accused, Ray Membami. Accordingly, there can be no doubt of the accused's guilt, especially when we considered she had a powerful motive. The police arrived rapidly at the scene and promptly arrested the young lady. Well, that extraordinary description of events leaves me somewhat lost for words, I must say. That's certainly true. The prosecution summary was full of words that raise an awful lot of questions. As a lawyer, I really ought to pick up the prosecution counsel on what he said about. Okay, the bathing spot, being alone together, a powerful motive. Ja, ich würde mal gerne das Motiv wissen. You're clearly exaggerating. A powerful motive is a blatant overstatement. It's the jokel boy using long words he doesn't fully understand. I beg your pardon. No matter, let us put this to the accused, shall we? Remember, Omni-san, you're a research assistant at the Imperial Yumi University, I believe? Yes, I am. I'm working with Professor Mikotoba in his laboratory at the moment. I can confirm that the defendant is an excellent assistant with a strong sense of responsibility. Fascinating to hear. Now, another question. Prior to your work with Professor Mikotoba, whose research were you assisting then? Oh, I was studying under Dr. John H. Wilson. Dr. Wilson? The visiting English professor who was murdered by Miss Brett 9 months ago? The accused had a deep-seated respect for her former mentor, Dr. Wilson. Is it not true? Yes, Dr. Wilson was a wonderful man. Interesting. Then tell the court what deep-seated feelings you had towards the Englishman who killed him. Well, obviously I was filled with hatred for what she had done. A powerful hatred. Oh no, Ray, be careful of what you're saying. The motive was revenge, plain and simple, Your Excellency. Well, it was clearly a trap all along. How wicked of him to use Ray's undying respect for her former mentor against her like that. I must find out more details and something we can use to bolster our defense. As a lawyer, I really ought to pick up the prosecution counsel on what he said about. Okay. A powerful motive, being alone together, the bathing spot. Membami-san. Yes, what is it? Naruhara-san. I'm really starting to wish we have made my alias Ryotaro Susato. Please tell the court why exactly you were present at the bathing spot with the victim in the first place, and why you were alone with her. Oh, well, no, that's not true. It wasn't like that at all. There were other people present, a detective who was guarding Miss Brett for starters. I was just asked to accompany Miss Brett as a companion, that's all. But let us be clear, at the moment of her death, you were alone together with the victim in the hut, you and no one else. The truth is, there is only one reason why this young woman accompanied Miss Brett on her bathing sojourn. It was the accused's last chance to take the victim's life. No. Because, as we know, the following day would see Miss Brett extradited to the British authorities in Shanghai. And the accused would never have an opportunity to dispatch her again. Kindly refrain from conjecture, counsel. The prosecution counsel seems to enjoy using provocative tricks like that, but for now at least we need to assemble more facts. Try not to let them go to you. Oh dear, this is really terrifying. But father's right, we need more information. As a lawyer, I really ought to pick up the prosecution counsel on what he said about. If I may, prosecutor? What do you want, you fresh-faced young yokel student? I wonder, could you explain please? You mentioned a bathing spot. My apologies, clearly my modernity has confused the poor country bumpkin's simple mind. Bathing spots are the very latest trend in health practices from the West. We are told that bathing in the water of the ocean is curative, therapeutic, and excellent for the skins. No, that's not what I meant. I was referring to the fact that Miss Brett had, to all intents and purposes, been found guilty of murder. Why would a known criminal have been relaxing by the sea? For old time's sake, I believe. Sorry. Miss Brett was to depart for Shanghai the following day. Her final wish, as it were, was to enjoy a day at our country's wonderful coast. And the British embassy put extreme pressure on our government to comply. But on what grounds would we agree to such a request? Because, as usual, our government is unable to stand up to foreign powers. In matters of diplomacy, it seems we don't even have the courage to decline the whims of a known criminal. Don't look at me, Professor. It was the government who granted permission, not I. In any case, it was decided that with a dedicated detective on duty, nothing could go wrong. But in fact, a murder took place. I say don't look at me. It was that young student girl who did it, not I. No one has proof that yet. I wouldn't provoke the man if you don't need it. I believe we all have a clear picture of the incident now. Despite her guilt being determined 9 months ago, Miss Brett managed to avoid incarceration, instead continuing her research work at the university. Obviously, over that period, she and Ray would have encountered each other on a number of occasions. Seeing the murderer of the mentor for whom she had such great respect enjoying such undeserved liberty. Yes, even if it was only temporary until Miss Brett's extradition to Shanghai, you can hardly blame Ray for her feelings of anger and resentment. Poor Ray. So, Your Excellency, you would be so kind as to peruse this exhibit, a photographic print that shows the scene of the crime immediately following the grim incident. Yes, thank you, Counsel. A tragic image. As you can clearly see, there is nowhere within the hut that anyone else could have hidden. The court will accept this photographic print as evidence. Okay. As I understand it, then the victim and the defendant were alone inside the beach hut at the time. This is deeply troubling, I must say. The finger of guilt points firmly at the defendant. Well, Your Excellency, naturally, the prosecution has much more to its case. We intend to prove the accused's appealing actions beyond all possible contention. To that end, I can confirm that we have multiple witnesses to the crime and damning evidence. Witnesses? But who? One of whom I might add is a highly respected police detective. I assure you, the testimony of these witnesses will leave no room for doubt. Very well then, Counsel. Bring forth your witnesses. Okay, dann kommen jetzt die Zeugen. Ich habe schon so eine Idee, wer dieser Police Detective sein könnte. Weil ich glaube, dass wir da wieder ein altbekanntes Gesicht treffen werden. Und ich bin mal gespannt, wie das Ganze weitergeht. Hier gibt es jetzt aber erstmal einen Cut. Ich bedanke mich ganz herzlich fürs Zusehen. Ich hoffe, ihr hattet Spaß. Und wenn ihr mögt, sehen wir uns sehr, sehr gerne im nächsten Part wieder. Bis dahin. Ciao.